Hey there, Ideal Protein Nation. Welcome to episode 21 of the Life Possible podcast. Good God, this is going to be amazing. For those of you who don't know about the Life Possible podcast, real briefly, the Life Possible podcast was designed to feature successful clients, coaches, and clinic owners who have used the Ideal Protein protocol to reset their body, reset their mind, and literally reset what was possible for their life. These individuals truly had life-changing transformational experiences. And now, as a result, they're pursuing goals and dreams that they thought were dead and gone. They're pursuing goals and dreams they never even thought they could. Some of them are pursuing goals and dreams they never even knew they wanted to. In short, they're living a life that they love so much that they don't feel the need to escape from it. So who am I and why do I even do this? Well, my name is Dr. John Barnes. And about 5.5, 6 years ago, there's no good way to put this. I was fat, sick, and depressed, and I didn't see a way out. The Ideal Protein program came to me truly, I believe, as the answer to so many of my prayers, both personally and professionally. Back then, I lost 45 pounds when I did the protocol for the first time, but it wasn't just the weight loss. It literally transformed my life. It changed me in so many ways, just like it is changing people all over the planet. Now, 5.5, 6 years ago, I feel healthy, vibrant, and alive, and I'm living my life possible. I'm now 65 pounds down from that initial weight, and I'm competing in the sport of triathlon again after 25 years of inactivity. So I designed this show so that I could help as many people as possible connect with this program and do the same for their lives. So who do we have for you today? Well, as promised, my featured guest for today is an Ideal Protein icon, Ideal Protein Nation icon. He has been a clinic owner of Results 22 in the Chicago suburbs of Glenview and Lake Forest. He's got 2 locations. He's been coaching weight loss and training athletes for the last 15 years. Today, he'll be sharing with us insights from over 2,500 clients' results and experiences in nutritional ketosis weight loss programs. You may remember him from episode number 5 of the Life Possible podcast. He's the all-time record holder for number of views on the show for Facebook and YouTube, as well as downloads for that show on iTunes, Spotify, and the other platforms. If you have not seen or listened to that show, after you are done with this one, go back and listen to that one. I got to share with you all, like I said, Ed is a mentor and an Ideal Protein idol for me. And I got to tell you, every time I talk with Ed, I go into this conversation feeling like, I know something about ketosis. I know something about the Ideal Protein protocol. So this is me before my conversations with Ed. And then I come out of the conversation looking like this. But I tell you, the one thing about him is he reaches down, picks me back up, inspires me, and I'm always better for having spent time with Ed. Let's just bring Ed in. I got to stop yapping because he is going to knock your socks off. Hey, there he is.
Hey, what's up, man?
Hey, Ed. First off, I got to tell you, we've had a lot of fun putting this show together already, right?
Yeah.
But I am in the Washington, D.C. area, covered in snow and ice. My office is closed. It was all I could do to get in here to the studio to do the show. And I want to let everybody know where you are coming to us from and what your conditions are.
I left the beach today about 30 minutes ago from St. Thomas with my 25-year-old oldest daughter and her 5 friends. I live here 8 months a year now and coach virtually because it's really what you said in your intro. I thought your intro was awesome. And it talked about, life possible. And my baby went to college and I just said, look, this is what I want to do. I'm going to go somewhere and I'll try something different. If it doesn't work out, I will go back to Chicago, whatever. I still own a home in Chicago, but I'm a resident here now in St. Thomas. I live 8 months a year here and 4 months a year there. And again, it's my best life. That's really what I'm just trying to achieve. I think your intro was dead on. You hear all these clients talk about before and after pictures and looks, and I'm not against that. That's awesome. You want to look better? That's great. The weight loss and nutrition is really about finding your authentic true self and being happy and going your own route and going your own way. And that's exactly what you said in your intro that really just hit me right between the eyes again, because that's exactly what you did. Yeah, you look better down 65 pounds, but it's bigger than that. It's just so much bigger than that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I apologize for dragging you guys off the beach. I know you had some choice words for me earlier today. But Soup, you know what? Again, Ideal Protein Nation, really, they appreciate every single word from you, every single moment you spend with them. And personally, I do as well. Let's hit the ground running.
All right, let's go.
So I tell you what, you wanted to go ahead and start the show by talking a little bit about the definition of ketosis. And we're going to start from the ground up.
Yeah, you could really do this forever, but nutritional ketosis can be defined as the intentional restriction of dietary carbohydrates. For most people, it's sub 40 carbohydrates a day. Again, net carbohydrates are carbs minus fiber minus sugar alcohol. So net minus 40. The majority of people would say it's minus 25. And you start to pick hairs and you go, okay, it doesn't really bother to me. I would prefer sub 25 carbohydrates, but let's say sub 40, you're in ketosis, because sub 40 carbohydrates, that intake to accelerate the production of ketones happens as you induce a metabolic effect that stabilizes blood sugars, you minimize insulin release, and thereby mitigating the downstream anabolic and thermogenic effects of long-stream insulin resistance. All they're really talking about is nutritional ketosis is drop carbohydrates down to a level sub 40, sub 25, so it can no longer be your primary source of energy. Your body's going to have to go to fat and say, okay, let's start taking fat cells, crack those fat cells up, use those as energy, and make energy from those. Remember, for some of those people out there, inside those fat cells of yours are trapped are hormones, or estrogen, testosterone, etc. So you're having a hormonal effect as we break open these fat cells, which is why women in their cycle, you can have super cycles. And what they're having an increased hormone experience when they have their cycle, but they're also having an increased hormonal experience because they're going through ketosis, and you break open that fat cell, and inside of there is estrogen, testosterone, and other things. It's not just a big glob of fat. There's hormones stuck inside of those fat cells, given what time of period you went in your lifetime and you put that fat on.
Yeah, it's crazy. It seems like it's a waste dump. It just kind of collects other things, and those hormones really do show themselves sometimes and freak people out.
They do.
Yeah, so why do you love ketosis and Ideal Protein?
I do love Ideal Protein. Ketosis is really simple. I think the genius of ketosis is good because people's addiction, 95 out of 100 clients, they have an addiction/dependence to carbohydrates and sugar. And in order to get off of that, I need to drop hunger. Writing a note on stop eating so much, cut down your portion sizes, use smaller plates, blah, blah, blah. That's all fine. You need to drop a human being's hunger. And the only way to drop your hunger is to drop your insulin levels. So as we start to cut your carbohydrate levels and your insulin starts to drop, and in a ketosis diet, your insulin could drop anywhere between 85 and 95%. As insulin falls off a cliff, we're going to severely drop your appetite because insulin is what's driving hunger. So, and then all of a sudden, because we don't have carbohydrates in the picture, we're using fat as your main source of energy, we're going to maximize fat loss. So we don't really have a need to count calories with Ideal Protein. We're going to do 2 or 3 boxes of food, 1 real meal. Yep. We don't have to do this tracking every day. Give me all your numbers. Tell me what you're doing. And then ketosis to me, the problem and the symptom. The symptom is I'm overweight. I have too much fat. I'm insulin resistant. And when I'm insulin resistant, I produce more insulin than I should, given the carbohydrates that I take in. And so this game starts to go higher, and I take in carbohydrates because I'm trying to access dopamine. Dopamine makes me feel better. And the reason you're accessing and addicted to carbs and sugar is because carbs and sugar is helping you manage your emotions. I'm stressed. I'm wearing a master in the day. My kid dropped out of school. Relationship problems, financial problems. I'm stressed and freaked out. I turn and run to carbs and sugar and or alcohol, turn around and give me dopamine. Dopamine's the reward center of the brain that gives me short-term relief, and that feels so good, that tastes good, it makes me feel better. I get a dopamine hit. The problem with it is I start getting addicted to this, and I start needing more and more carbs and sugar to get to the same level of dopamine. So I become insulin resistant, and I start putting on more and more fat, and it requires more and more insulin to come out, grab the carbohydrates, and put them in my muscle and liver. And all of a sudden, what used to take, let's say an example of 1 gram of insulin to take that banana and put it in your muscle and liver, now takes 5 grams of insulin. And you start producing more and more insulin. This is the problem. Insulin is the problem.
So literally, it's as if your body develops a tolerance, just like you would build up your tolerance to alcohol. It builds up a tolerance to sugar, and that's why it requires more and more.
The cells do. They have there's no way for the insulin to get in there. They unlock the key, but the cell is full. And so they need more and more insulin to get to this. And to get to the same level high, dopamine starts off at the beginning, and I can have a very little bit. It's called a teaspoon of ice cream, and that'll be enough dopamine to make me feel good and get high. Then I need 2 teaspoons, 5 teaspoons, a cup, 3 cups, 5 cups, 9 cups. We do this with everything, right? Name anything you want, whether it's drugs or alcohol, whatever. We start to become dependent on it, and the body figures it out, and we need more and more and more of it. This is the addictive part of this. But so Ideal Protein does a great job letting the body burn fat cells, drop fat at a maximum rate. It does an unbelievable job losing weight, getting rid of visceral fat, dropping insulin resistance. All that's amazing. The problem with it is most of this is driven by I'm not enough. There's something wrong with me. I've always been the overweight guy. I've always been the overweight girl. So it's these limiting beliefs and emotions that are driving eating behavior. And so just fixing your diet and portion size isn't going to work. I'm sorry. I wish it would, but it doesn't. We need to address the limiting beliefs and emotions. We need to address authenticity. We need to address shame. We need to address these things that went on sometimes in childhood, other times through the divorce that I'm going through, whatever it is. Those are driving the eating behavior. And I'm turning to food to make myself feel better. Client came in last week. Her daughter came home from college, and the whole family's freaked out. And her husband and daughter got in a huge fight. And she's like, I wanted to wring his neck. And I go, so what'd you say to him? She goes, well, I didn't say anything. I went to the kitchen. I had 7 cookies. I go, what? So instead, because I didn't want to go to him, confront him and say, hey, this is what's going on. I don't want you talking to her like this. You don't understand what she's going through, because I didn't know how he was going to respond to me. I didn't want to, so I didn't touch that. So I buried that deep inside. Those become unresolved issues, and they accumulate. That accumulation needs release. The release was I go to the kitchen and use carbs and sugar, and I use carbs and sugar to get dopamine and get a release. But guess what? The problem was never fixed. When she's done with the cookies and it feels good in the short term, she still has a problem that she didn't address with her husband. When they go to bed tonight, the reason she's still not talking to him is because she's mad. So the accumulation never changed anything. So she went to the cookies and grabbed the cookies and gave short-term relief. That's what we use dopamine for. But she didn't address the problem. And that's what the issue is. And this girl can go from 205 to 135 and be a supermodel if she wants. But that doesn't address the problem of her not having the vulnerability and the authenticity to walk up to him and say, hey, I think you're an idiot today. You shouldn't be talking to our daughter like that. This is what I think. This is how I feel. I don't know how he's going to respond, nor do I care, but I need to let him know how I feel instead of this accumulation that takes place, and then they run to carbohydrates and sugar as a release to the accumulation, but nothing gets resolved. That's what this problem is.
That's the struggle. And so that's where the coaching, it's where having a coach and being able to talk, change all this stuff. You got to change those behaviors along with the eating, right?
That is, I mean, the thing that drives me absolutely nuts is when someone says, well, I'm doing Ideal Protein alternative and they go, okay, they have a high bioavailable protein. These are amazing products. They're $4 a meal. You're paying half for coaching and half for food. They do an unbelievable job with high quality protein. If you think it's too expensive, just drop the diet completely. You're never going to be okay, because there's nothing expensive about this in terms of changing your life. I mean, absolutely nothing. I believe my clients, believe it or not, I believe they're stealing from me.
I do.
I really do. With the level of coaching that I give them, the videos that I make for them, we have a 7-month maintenance program where they get a video every day for 7 months. I literally believe every day that when my clients walk in that they're stealing from me. But I think I'm providing a ridiculous service. But I also believe that we provide an unbelievable level of coaching, and that IP gives them an unbelievable service, and that I can get you off of fatty liver disease, and we can drop blood pressure medication and the nonsense, whatever. But more importantly, we can get you to stop using food to manage your emotions. In the end, that's the underlying problem. And that's really what you're paying me for. Most of what you're paying me for is coaching, is in the boxes of food. So don't start comparing it to other foods and other things. We
Right.
need coaching.
Absolutely, 100%. And man, I tell you, I would love to get you in a room coaching coaches about all this stuff. I think that would be absolutely amazing. So the other thing that you kind of talk about here on your list, our number one defense against any virus in the world is to have our immune functioning at 100%. Yep.
This is a layup. I mean, this is not talked about right. And guess what? I'm all for masks. I'm all for social distancing. I'm all for all the other things we're doing. It's not anything against any of those things. I mean, not all of them. What I'm saying is you don't hear reported in the news, guys, let's take personal responsibility for who you are and what you're doing. This virus right now is attacking your immune system, and most viruses do. If your immune system is in a better place, you can put up a better fight. The example I always use is that your immune system is Army soldiers. So let's say you have 1,000 Army soldiers if your immune system's working perfectly. And then you get higher blood pressure, and you have more fat, and you have more inflammation, and you have type 2 diabetes, or you have all these different soldiers. You had 1,000 soldiers, their immune system. Well, I got 300 fighting type 2 diabetes. I got 250 fighting the excess fat that I have on my body. I have the 150 fighting the cholesterol. I have 125 fighting blood pressure. I've got the fat in my body causing all these different problems. And you'll go, so the virus comes, and instead of fighting the virus with 1,000 soldiers, I have 250. So you go, so would you like to fight the virus with 250 soldiers, or would you like to fight with 1,000? They're like, I'd like to fight with 1,000. You go,
Yep.
Okay, then drop the fat that's on the body, get the immune system back in place, start taking your soldiers back. And if you follow a ketogenic diet like this and you start doing IP, and we see blood pressure coming down and cholesterol, all these things, but as fat goes down and you become less and less insulin resistant, we start taking our immune system back. And you can go, God forbid somebody.
Oh, hang in
Let's
there.
go. You want to fight? Let's go. I've got 1,000 Army soldiers. Where would you like to fight? And the other lady goes, well, I have 110. And I go, okay, but 110 people are not going to put up as good a fight as 1,000. And that's all that's happening. But we've got to take more personal responsibility for this. And I think ideal protein or ketosis is a genius way to say, get your immune system back, get the fat off your body, and get your body functioning correctly, and get your soldiers back.
Yeah, absolutely. Someday I'm really hoping that that's going to come across the TV screen, that the changing your metabolic health, restoring your metabolic health is one of the number one things that you could do, right?
Yes. We're always looking for outside help. I'm not against the vaccine. I'm not against anything else, but we're always looking for outside help. Raise your hand and say, I can do this. Here's what I'm capable of doing. Here's what I'm in control of. My clients keep coming in and saying, and I get what they're saying. It's an unbelievably beautiful time right now. And we're under stress, and we're wearing masks, and we're home with all these things. We have this limited connection in our life, and we're all stressed, and people are turning to carbs, sugar, and food. But that reaction from the accumulation again to food and or alcohol consumption is up 67% in the last 12 months in the United States. That alcohol consumption and food consumption is coming from accumulation that is therefore putting on fat, that is therefore decreasing my immune system, which making me a much worse target for me to fight and put up a good fight with this thing. And you're looking going, look, the one thing that we have 100% control over right now is the one thing that's most out of control of everything. That's the nuts part about this thing. The one thing that you have 100% control over, stop blaming him or her or the government or anything else. What do you have control over? Your lifestyle and what you eat and how you exercise and what's going on. Even if the club is closed, eat right. Exercise is 20% of the equation, maybe 30 if you're an absolute badass workout person. But in the end, nutrition is 70 or 80%.
Yeah.
And so I can do this. I can get my immune system in a better place. I can get more soldiers back. I can take this thing down. I can change my life. If that was the mantra that we're going on right now, this game would completely change right now.
Absolutely. And you know, it also is, this is the perfect time to do something like that because we don't have the social pressures. We're not going to happy hour on Friday and Saturday night. We're not going out to dinner all the time. We're not doing any of that stuff. This is the perfect time to change your metabolic health and to take on a program like this.
It's always the perfect time. I don't care if it's summer or winter, or I don't care what it is. As you start to take weight down and fat down, we start to change identity. The genius of ideal protein and ketosis is the client loses 34, 54, 64 pounds. You change energy, self-confidence, self-image, self-worth, self-love. And if I have a higher level of self-love, I have a higher level of connection with other people. When I'm in a better place, when I'm happy with myself, I treat other people better. Guess what they do to me? They treat me better. You go, what? Huh? Yes. We get so caught up in this before and after picture bullshit that we forget that, guess what? I'm a different person. I start gaining this weight, the negative self-talk comes in, I'm more angry at the end of the night. You've got a backpack on that has 45 pounds of bricks in it and you carry it around all day. You really think it doesn't affect your mood at night? You're really going to try to convince me it's not affecting your husband or your wife? You're really trying to convince me that a 50-pound backpack or a weighted vest that you carry around every single day of your life isn't affecting your kids somehow? That's nuts. That is absolute insanity. And that's what ideal protein can do. And they can turn around and fix that. And you can go, my marriage is better. I'm happier. I feel better about myself. Oh,
there he goes.
Guess what? Do you think you want to work out more at 130 in the 130 pounds, or do you think you want to work out when you wake up in the morning at 195? Because at 195 when I wake up, I'm more sluggish. I'm more tired. I'm finding more excuses. At 135, I'm going, hey, pop up and you go, feel good about myself. Feel good, looking good. Got a good night's sleep. You go, let's go. It all runs together.
So for anybody who has not seen episode 5, I would send you back to episode 5 of our podcast, because that was the gist of the show. And Ed expounds upon all of that stuff like nobody else can. Like I said, we got such great feedback from that show. All right. This show,
let's get into it.
We're going to get a little scientific this show.
Yeah.
And it's going to be for great reason. Again, Ed, real quick, can you speak to the idea that this show is going to answer the majority of questions that you find on Facebook, in support groups, and online?
I love people looking for help and support in Facebook, and I mean this when I tell you this. If you listen to this podcast from beginning to end, you can eliminate 70% of all questions on Facebook. 7-0. I've been doing this for 15 years. I've got data on more than 2,500 clients. I know exactly what the issue is and what the biggest problem is. And the biggest problem with ketogenic diets is a misconception of the importance of electrolytes, especially sodium and potassium, And it can make it extremely difficult. So the main electrolytes in your body are calcium, magnesium, potassium, and sodium, especially sodium and potassium when it comes to a ketogenic diet, for one reason. As insulin starts going lower, you drop carbs. You go sub 40 carbs, you get into nutritional ketosis. Let's call it sub 25, sub 40, splitting hairs. Makes no difference to me. You get into ketosis. The body can no longer live on carbohydrates as its main source of energy. It's got to turn to fat as its primary source of energy. That's fine. But your insulin levels are going to drop off a cliff. Yep. And when your insulin levels drop off a cliff, your kidney's reaction is going to be to excrete or let go of sodium. And so your body's going to start kicking out sodium. And so you're going to start releasing sodium. In week 1, you're going to release stored glycogen or stored carbohydrates, which will be 80-85% water. And when you release that, you will lose electrolytes. Inside of stored glycogen is electrolytes. So you're losing water. Ketogenic diet or intermittent fasting is a dehydrating diet because you're losing water that is stored glycogen. All of a sudden, you're going to start to go to the bathroom more. You're going to pee more. Why? Why are you peeing more? Because the human body's incapable of holding on to sodium anymore, because your insulin levels have dropped so low, because your carbs have dropped so low, that all of a sudden the kidneys turn around and say, let go of sodium, let go of sodium, let go of sodium. And you've got clients going to the bathroom 8 o'clock, 9:30, 11, 1, 1:30, 3. And you're like, wow, am I going to the bathroom a lot? And what they say is, they're doing it because I'm drinking a lot of water. And actually, there's a lot of clients that either A, drop alcohol completely, or B, start increasing their water by 25 or 30%. And I hate to tell you, that makes it even worse. I don't mind that you increase your water by 25 or 30%, but then you have to equally increase your electrolytes by 25 or 30%, or what you're going to get what's called flushing. And flushing is, I do 3 or 4 days in the first week, and I'm not doing a good job with sodium, and I'm losing sodium. So I've got lower energy, fatigue, lightheadedness. I'm crabby. I'm irritable. I wake up in the morning. Morning's probably the lowest level for most people for their sodium levels, because I didn't have a lot of sodium between dinner and the time I went to bed. And by the time I went to bed at 10 o'clock and the time I wake up at 7, I've gone to the bathroom 2 or 3 times. And every time I go to the bathroom, I lose more electrolytes. So I wake up in the morning and you go, well, this ketosis thing gives me a mild headache every morning. You go, well, it shouldn't. You just don't have enough electrolytes, especially sodium and potassium. So you're not listening to your body telling you this isn't right. And then people go, I'm fatigued. I have low energy. I'm not sleeping well. I'm irritable. My mood is changing. So we see mild insomnia from low sodium levels. We also see severe insomnia from low sodium levels. A client came in 2 or 3 weeks ago and he says to me, well, I love the diet. I'm down 31 pounds of fat. But Tuesday and Wednesday, I was reading the New York Times from 1 o'clock in the morning to 3:30. I go, what? I'm sorry, what? He's up. He knows he hasn't slept. He knows he's tired. He's up reading the New York Times for 2 hours in the middle of the night. Why?
Wow.
His sodium levels are too low. He now has insomnia induced by low sodium levels. And so he's up for 2 nights. Problem is, his sleep quality is going to stink. He's not getting good deep sleep. He's not getting REM sleep. He's going to have all kinds of disturbances. He'll produce more cortisol in the morning. Cortisol is going to slow down his weight and fat loss because he's not sleeping well. And all this is coming from low sodium. We doubled his sodium levels. And I go, well, how's the reading going? He goes, I haven't read the New York Times in 2 weeks. And you go, how come? He goes, because you doubled my sodium. And you go, I know. And he goes, oh. And that's when the body looks and goes, I got it. The other gal comes in, she's 43 years old. She's dropped 19 pounds with us out of the gate. And she looks and goes, I'm going to bed with my kids falling asleep on me every night at 8 o'clock on my couch. I go, what? 8 o'clock? That doesn't make any sense at all. I'm exhausted on this diet. What it's telling me is she's doing an amazing job with carbohydrates. Amazing. And the reason is she's doing this amazing job with carbs, insulin's falling off a cliff. What she's telling me is her body's throwing out sodium way faster than she can put it back in. And these low sodium levels are causing low sodium. It's a long explanation. I'm not going to get technical on it, but potassium goes like this. Sodium starts to go lower, and potassium and sodium are best friends. And potassium comes down and tries to save sodium, essentially. Sodium grabs potassium by the ankles and pulls him under. So when I'm low in sodium, I'm going to be low in potassium. It's called potassium sparing.
Wow.
It's a little more difficult than that, but I'm not going to get into the whole complexity of it.
That's a great analogy,
I'm going to lose most people. But if you're low in sodium, I hate to tell you, I'm 100% sure you're low in potassium. Okay. Because the sodium is going to grab potassium and pull them on. It's called potassium sparing. Now I'm low in sodium and I'm low in potassium. Well, guess what? Electrolytes are spark plugs, okay? Go out to your car right now, pop the hood open, and pull out 5 sparks. Just yank them out. Yank the spark plugs out of your car and drive home for the night.
I lost you real quick.
Am I back?
Okay, you're back. Yep.
Okay, so electrolytes are like spark plugs. So go into your car today, pop open the hood, find 5 spark plugs and just rip them out of your car, okay? Now, when you guys go and have dinner and come back, let me know how the ride home went. And you go, well, the car was riding like shit. And you go, well, of course it was. You pulled out 5 spark plugs. What did you think was going to happen to the car? And that's what electrolytes are. Electrolytes are these electrical things that are going inside of the body, electrical connectivity, and they're doing tons of other things that we won't get into because we're going to lose people. But they're doing other things as well. But when we lose those, we're losing our spark plugs, and you see lethargic, low energy, moody, irritable, not sleeping well, minor insomnia, not sleeping at night at all, tossing and turning night, and the biggest one times 50, constipation. So sodium holds water. So sodium holds water. As carbs and insulin goes higher, the body will start holding on to sodium. So we've had this big thing in the medical community for the last 20 years. Don't do sodium, don't do sodium, don't do sodium. It's probably going to kill you. And so we've got this huge message going out there. Most of it is wrong, by the way. But we're getting the majority of our sodium from processed foods. Processed foods and fast foods account for 75 to 80% of all sodium in our diets in the United States complete. Well, guess what? We're not doing any fast food or any processed foods when we're doing a ketogenic diet from ideal protein. So you've eliminated the far and away the biggest single source of sodium in the human body. And you go, oh, so what does that mean? I go, it means you're going to be severely deficient in sodium. And so when the water comes into the body, he can't hold the water intracellular inside the cell because there's no water here. So as you start drinking, when someone goes, I went from 80 ounces of water to 120, I go, oh crap, that's even worse. Why? because the 120 ounces of water is going to come into the body. The body wants to sit inside my muscle cells. It can't. There's no sodium in here to hold on to it. So it's going to come in and go out. It's called flushing. So the high levels of water, all they're doing is making you pee more, making you lose electrolytes even more, making you use more spark plugs, and you have an inability to hold on to sodium. And you're more irritable, and you're sleeping like crap, and you're falling asleep like with your kids on the couch. And you're going, okay, stop.
All right, I'm going to stop you here real quick.
Issue.
You're going 120 miles an hour, just like that car I had up there. Yes, this was a huge concept that you were teaching me when we were recording episode 5, actually. We went off on this tangent on sodium, and it blew my mind. But one of the light bulb moments for me was understanding that hydration, which is what we're after, right?
Correct.
Hydration isn't about the amount of ounces of water that you chug down. It's actually about having the sodium and the electrolytes inside your body to pull that water into your muscle cells so your muscle cells can function 100%.
You have intracellular and extracellular water. Yes, you're perfect. Intracellular water is water inside the muscle. Extracellular water is water outside the muscle. You're at the 18-mile mark of the Boston Marathon and you go down and you start screaming, I'm cramping, somebody come help me. Nobody, absolutely nobody with a medical degree will give you water. They're going to give you a saline bag.
Yep, and that saline bag, one of the primary things it has
potassium and sodium, and they're going to have an equal level of water and electrolytes and go, we're going to get rid of your cramping. They can give you 74 ounces of water if they want. It's going to do nothing for you. That electrical current that's caused the cramping is not going to be fixed, and that's what's happening here.
Yeah, fantastic.
Let's take a look at a couple real-life examples.
Okay. What do you got for us?
Here's a client. Thank you to these clients, by the way, for signing the releases to let me use their information to teach other people. I really appreciate it, by the way. Client walks in, right? So you got January 27th to February 17th. So, you've got almost 20 days. And this client has only lost, This client has only lost 7 pounds.
Yep.
So they've lost 7 pounds in a matter of 20 days. And she goes, I'm ready to quit. The diet's not working. It's going too slow. I feel great, by the way, which is crazy. The diet's not working. For some reason, I don't seem to be losing fat, but I feel fantastic and I'm ready to quit. And she goes, okay, here, this has 67.9 pounds of muscle, 67.5. And go, okay, it was here that we doubled her level of sodium because her sodium levels were too low. And so from here to here, this client puts on 67.5, 8.5, 9.5, 0.5, 3.3 pounds of water inside her muscles in a week. That's 4 red Solo cups. You just added 4 red Solo cups to this person's body inside of a week. Why? Because she increased her sodium levels. The problem with it is it's not going to show up in weight here because she's added 3.3 pounds of weight here. You've got to take that 3.3 into account. And so this looks like she only lost 6.7 pounds over all that time. But take a look at fat. 124.8 down to 114. Fat's
crazy.
Taking into account that she's lost this weight and she's added water inside her cells, intracellular. And so this client here has a 50% higher probability of constipation than this client because the second client, the same client with 70.8 pounds of water inside of her muscles, has 4 more red Solo cups in her body. And all that liquidity, all that water is going to stop her from constipation.
Wow.
And the trick about it was she's never 246 pounds. She's 246 pounds as long as she's drinking her 2 glasses of wine, exercising, and not doing enough electrolytes, and she's lacking water inside of her cells.
That's the dehydration. That's her dehydrated weight.
That's correct. This is essentially her weight after she comes out of a sauna, but it's what she uses as her marker because she doesn't know what else to use. But nobody in the world could put on 3.3 pounds of muscle here. That's impossible.
In a week.
You couldn't do it in a year, so you sure can't do it in a week. What it's saying is a muscle cell is 80% water. So this water is filling up in her cell, and the cell's getting bigger and bigger, indicating a much better job. Now, let's listen to her body. What did she say? She goes, well, I have slept the best I've ever slept in the last 10 years. I go, well, that's a good sign. She goes, I'm dreaming for the first time in a while. I go, okay. She goes, twice this week I got up before the alarm went off. I got up and started doing my day. You go, what? She goes, well, yeah, I just got up and body's like, okay, rested, got a great night's sleep, let's get going. She goes, well, the alarm hasn't gone off. And I go, okay, but the body got enough sleep, turn the alarm off and get going. She goes, but I haven't got up before my alarm went off in 25 years. I go, because your electrolytes have sucked for 25 years. I don't know what else to tell you. And as she gets better sleep, this client here is going to sleep infinitely better than these other two clients because she has enough sodium and electrolytes, spark plugs in her body to sleep correctly. And now she's going to sleep better. She's going to lose more weight because she's not producing as much cortisol.
Yeah.
And so sleep is king when it comes to weight loss. We focus so hard on carbohydrates and these other things, whatever. Sodium and potassium are absolutely critical to get right in a ketogenic diet. And to do it, you're going to need you're going to really focus on doing a great job with your vegetables, which most people don't do because they're Americans. And so we really want to get at minimum 4 cups of vegetables and be good with our Greek leafy green vegetables. The darker leafy green, the better. And the spinaches and the mushrooms and the broccolis of the world, wherever we get electrolytes. And we want to do a really good job trying to get sodium probably every, if I tell our clients, we'd really like to see you guys getting sodium every 3 or 4 hours.
So real quick, let me just take you back a little bit because I know that you've gone ahead a little bit in our outline.
Yeah.
I know that there's people out there going, well, again, sodium, isn't salt bad for us?
Yeah.
Are sodium and salt the same thing?
No. So that's an excellent point. And it's, people struggle with this, and sodium and salt are not the same thing. It sounds like they're the same thing, but they're not. So sodium, and what you're doing is we have a sodium, potassium, and adrenal problem that's really causing all these problems. So let's go through it real quick. And
well, you have down here 1 teaspoon of salt equals 5 grams, 2.3 grams of sodium. The rest is chloride, right?
Correct. So sodium is absolutely critical, but sodium is different than just salt. And that's tricking people and freaking people out because they don't know exactly what to do. They say, well, how much sodium should I take? On the ketogenic diet or with ideal protein, I wish there was a number. I wish I could tell you this is exactly what you should do. Given that I'm not a doctor, I don't give recommendations for sodium, but the recommendations that we see, ideal protein says 2,200 milligrams of sodium daily while you're in a ketogenic diet. In the old days, the Wayback Machine, when I did ideal protein, they focused on making every client do a soup every single day for the first 2 weeks. It was a requirement. That was part of the program. And the reason of that was, and it was a good reasoning, by the way, was soups are loaded with sodium. And so 1 time a day, we know we're going to be really getting these guys with sodium, and we want to increase this thing. So a teaspoon of salt is 5 grams of salt, but it's only 2.3 grams of sodium. So before we start losing people and confusing people, whatever, let's not get into the math of this. Let's just say, guess what? We really think you should be doing at least 1 to 1.5, 2 teaspoons of sodium a day. Here's the problem with that. Every client is different. I don't know what medications are on. You have to tell me who's the client, what medication are they on? Are they taking blood pressure medication? Are they taking aspirin? Are they taking Tylenol? Because if they are, they're going to have a different reaction to sodium levels. And so it's not as easy as just saying, oh, well, do this and everything will be perfect and everyone does it exactly. It doesn't exactly work like that. And so it's a fairly difficult game to do. But what you want to think about in simplistic terms is matching how often you're going to the bathroom with adding sodium. So you wake up in the morning. Last night you went to the bathroom 3 times. So you lost three sodium 3 times last night. And you wake up in the morning, you have a mild headache. I know why. Your sodium levels are too low. You should have done a better job getting sodium before you went to bed last night. And you go, oh, okay. And that's absolutely critical. So if you do 3,000 milligrams of sodium every day, John, and I do 3,000 milligrams of sodium every day, I can point out where I'm going to give you the runs and I'm going to be perfect. So my 3,000 milligrams of sodium, I'm going to split out 6 times and I'm going to hit it Sodium, 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 6 times during the day. I'm going to make you.
Yep.
I'm going to make you take 1,500 milligrams of sodium twice a day. So we're both getting exactly 3,000 milligrams. But 1,500 milligrams of sodium twice a day is probably too much sodium at any one time, and I'm going to give you the runs. And when you get the runs, you're going to turn around and your electrolytes are going to go to zero. So you and I are doing the exact same amount of sodium every day, and I'm amazing, and you stink.
Yeah, well, you already gave me the runs. I hate to tell you that.
Right, okay.
When we first talked about this, we got 1,000 milligram tablets in our house because we have a sodium issue. And remember, you were helping me with my daughter. And I did pop one of those babies, and I was like, oh, that's what Ed's talking about. Hello. But so, again, just able to back off. It was instantaneous. It didn't last long. No issues like that. It was just nice to get that feedback. Right?
But that's the body saying I'm rejecting this. That's too much sodium at any one
shot
at any one time. And sources of sodium include. I hate to tell you, I think one of the really under promoted products, excuse me, that's out there is Ideal Protein Salt. Ideal Protein Salt is equal levels of potassium and equal levels of sodium. And so as you keep sodium levels up, you maintain potassium levels. If you keep potassium levels up, you can maintain sodium levels. So they work together. So I think the thing that people really don't understand is you see Facebook saying, well, pink Himalayan salt and sea salt, all of which are fine, by the way, but they don't have the level of potassium that Ideal Protein does. That salt was made for a reason. They know you're doing a ketogenic diet. So they know you're doing a ketogenic diet. And so I hate to tell you, Ideal Protein Salt is infinitely better in my mind versus the pink Himalayan or the sea salt. For the reason that potassium levels are so high, they're equal actually in the Ideal Protein Salt as they are with anything else. So am I against pink Himalayan? No. Sea salt? No. Broth or bouillon? Fine. Love it. Shellfish? IP soups? IP chips? Powerade Zero, Gatorade Zero.
Slow down, pal. Hang on. Slow down. I got this on the slide. We actually talked about this, right?
Yeah. Ways to increase your sodium level.
Yeah. Here we go. Right.
Ideal Protein Salt to me is king. Again, he's only critical. King in a ketogenic diet because I think a lot of people get a lot more potassium and can do this in a regular maintenance diet, fine. But intermittent fasting or ketosis is going to require a high level of potassium. So Ideal Protein Salt is the most, and far and away, the most underutilized product in all of our clinics. We've got to be pushing Ideal Protein Salt. It's a fantastic product because of the level of potassium in it. And it's infinitely better than pink Himalayan salt or sea salt. When people say, well, I just use pink Himalayan salt at home. And pink Himalayan salt has all kinds of nutrients in it, and I'm a big fan. But I hate to tell you, in ketosis, Ideal Protein's infinitely better.
Wow.
It just is. Awesome. Because of the level of potassium. You're never going to get that level of potassium in pink Himalayan salt. And you'll get trace minerals in pink Himalayan salt, but I don't need those. I need sodium and potassium and magnesium. And so, after that, if you don't want to use Ideal Protein, yes, pink Himalayan salt works, sea salt works, chicken broth, beef broth, great. Why? Because that broth is going to go in and give me some level of sodium. There's a product out there called Better Than Bouillon, and you take a teaspoon of it, put it in a coffee mug, pour in hot water, and it turns out to be 700 or 800 milligrams of sodium. But again, we have to know what you're eating and what you're doing. I'm having chips in a soup today from Ideal Protein, okay? You're having a ready-made...
Nope. I lost you again real quick.
You did in a day.
There you go.
So...
and that broth or bouillon, like you were talking about, I try to get my patients to do that after dinner and right before bed. You got that warm cup of bouillon, and that's going to give you sweet dreams.
Genius.
And get to sleep all night long. Right?
Absolute genius, because I'll tell you why. The number one place where clients are not getting this right is somewhere between dinner and the time they go to bed, call it the average person, maybe 10 o'clock. And they have dinner at maybe, let's say, 7 o'clock, and they're using the little salt shaker, which is doing peanuts, by the way. And, there's some salt, believe it or not, in chicken and other things, so that's fine. But between 7 and 10 o'clock at night, they're going to the bathroom a couple times, and when they go to the bed at night, they're going to bed at night with maybe 30 or 40% of their sodium tank full. If they do the broth that you're talking about, I'm going to bed at night with a 95% full sodium tank. So if I do go to the bathroom a couple times during the night, so what? Number one, you'll go to the bathroom much less during the night because that sodium that you just had from the broth that you just took, that sodium will hold water. And therefore, there'll be less flushing. You could easily do 1 time to the bathroom instead of 2, or 2 times go to the bathroom instead of 3. So you can absolutely cut down the number of times you go to the bathroom by getting that sodium level late. So that's genius. Then I wake up in the morning, no mild headaches, no low energy, no fatigue, and that's just listening to my body.
Yeah. No, when you taught us this stuff, I put together a handout for our clients, and that was one of the habits that that we put into place. Talking about, we're not going to do 3 Vanilla Krispies a day. We're going to do one of the salty ideal protein foods. We're also going to do the bouillon hopefully at night so that it helps you sleep.
Yeah, and I'm trying to say that one product is infinitely better than the other. Besides ideal protein, they're pretty much the same to me. On this list is Powerade and Gatorade Zero. We sell fizz tablets in my diet center from Hammer Nutrition. They're made for essentially people that do ultra marathons and long distances. Why? Because they need their spark plugs and electrolytes when they run 50 or 70 miles.
Yep, drinking it now.
So yes, correct. And so Powerade or Gatorade Zero. Okay, do I love that they have a fake sugar? No, but it is a source of sodium for me. And so every client is different. How they want to get that sodium in their body is irrelevant to me. That doesn't concern me. So that's what I want to really focus on and get correct. I'll show you the client who said, my kids fell asleep on me 2 nights in a row on Tuesday and Wednesday night. Well, I was exhausted and I fell asleep at 8 o'clock at night. Take a look at this example.
Yep.
Okay, so here she comes in, look at this date, February 2nd. Why am I white? Hold on.
There we go.
February 2nd, 65.5 pounds of water in her. Remember, from here to here, this is not her real weight. This is her real weight as long as she's missing, what, over 5 pounds of water inside of her muscle cells.
Yeah.
Right? So that's what she's doing. So her real weight here is really 5 pounds heavier. Her real weight is here. And so she's upset because she thinks she gained weight for the week. What she gained was water inside of her muscle cells. And so this is a gain 5.5, 6.5, 7.5, 8.5, 9.5, 0.5, 5.5 pounds of water gain.
Wow.
7 red Solo cups. So this person has a 100% probability, 95% less probability of constipation than this person because this person has no water in their body.
Yeah.
Even though she's drinking 80 ounces of water a day. She goes, I'm an amazing water person. I go, I know, and it's flushing out because you don't have the sodium to hold it. Now go down here and take a look and go, so what would your client say to you if she walked in and said, hey, John, is 8.4 pounds of fat loss in a week good?
Right?
And remember, let's go through this. This isn't real. The machine thinks intracellular water. In the end, I hate to tell you, if you don't measure intracellular water because your scale isn't sophisticated enough, I honestly believe, I don't have any idea how people are coaching people. I don't have any idea. If you don't give me this information in here, I have no idea what to tell you. I would take a look at her weight and start going over her food log and saying, clearly you're doing things wrong, you don't know what you're doing, and you're plateauing, which is total nonsense. I look down here and go, well, you lost 8 pounds of fat. How'd that go for the week? And remember, the machine thinks you have 65.5 pounds of muscle here. So when you add 5.5 pounds of muscle, he gives you 5.5 pounds of fat loss here just because he thinks you added 5.5 pounds of muscle. A woman that rocked the house could probably lose 3 pounds of fat in a week. Nobody's losing 5 or 6 pounds of fat in a week. So it's not a true number. This number is just underrepresenting her muscle, which therefore overstates her fat.
Yep.
But as you know, the only thing clients look at is weight from week to week, right? And so she's looking here going, well, clearly this diet doesn't work. I'm in a bad place. This place stinks, and I quit.
Yep.
And what happened? Her fat went from 40 to 31. She lost 9 pounds of fat, dude. That's insane. She's amazing.
Her body composition, the body fat percentage just took a huge drop.
This says 2.5 pounds of weight loss. And she's literally ready to quit the program. And I'm going, you're not doing good. You're doing amazing. And it was here that she said, I said, you remember what happened to that falling asleep on your kids on the couch? She goes, I was doing the laundry last night at 10:45. I go, what? I thought you were exhausted every night. She goes, oh, that's gone now. And you go,
Yeah.
that's sodium. That's sodium. So she listens to her body. She goes, sleeping better, dreaming better. Therefore, going to get deeper sleep, more REM sleep, going to repair the body more, going to produce less cortisol in the morning, going to lose more weight and fat loss. Sleep is king when it comes to weight loss. And so to do it, we want vitamin D levels right, we want to clear the gut full of sugar, and we want to get electrolytes right. Most people don't do vitamin D correctly. Most people do not. All of our clients clear the gut full of sugar because they're in keto, but then they don't do sodium correctly. And these wind up getting really lousy sleep. And they produce more cortisol, the stress hormone in the morning, and we're going to see slower weight loss.
Yeah.
I mean, these numbers are nuts.
Well, and you know, the nuts thing to me is, again, you taught me this months and months ago, and we've been putting this stuff into practice in my office. Now that she got her muscle up there to 71.6, the craziest thing is to see it stay there. You know, if you've got them nailed, if they've got the habits in place, you know, again, you're not counting milligrams, but you've got the habits in place, and you're nailing your sodium, that number won't even budge. I've had people hit the exact same number like 4 or 5 weeks in a row.
That's awesome. That's great coaching, I hate to tell you.
It's unbelievable.
That's exactly what it works. And go back to this old example before. This client comes in week 1, February 2nd. Okay? So February 2nd, she's at 139.4. Mm-hmm. February 17th, this is 1 week. All right? She checks in on the 10th. Because she's really disappointed. She checks in on the 12th because she's crazy disappointed. She checks in on the 15th because she's threatening to quit. Her weight's now up. She's 5 days into our weight loss program and she has gained 0.6 of a pound. She's like, my God, if I stay on this program any longer, I'm going to be 180 pounds by the time this thing is over. But why does she do it? This woman had 2 glasses of wine every single night, 7 days in a row. And therefore, she stopped drinking. When she stopped drinking, that alcohol stopped pulling those electrolytes out. So now I'm not losing those electrolytes because of the alcohol. Perfect. Now she started doing a better job with sodium because I gave her the sodium routine. I gave her a routine to go to. I told her the things to do. I showed her products to have in week 1. And she started increasing her level of electrolytes, sodium, potassium. And the body started taking on more water intracellular. Because in week 1, we should see her muscle here go to here.
Yes.
Right? She's losing stored carbohydrates. And when she loses stored carbohydrates, I should see her muscle go from here down to here. And we see like a 48 number. And she hasn't lost muscle. She's lost water in her muscle due to lost glycogen, which FYI, this woman did. So she went down to 48, but then back up to 51, 52, and 55.6 because she did such a good job doing electrolytes. Look at these dates. 510. 210, 212, and 215 and 217. So she's checked in 4 times in 7 days. This isn't 4 weeks of weight loss.
Right.
She's checking in, and this is in 1 week. This is the power of sodium. So she gives up wine here that gives me more electrolytes. She adds sodium here, and I said, you could still do more. She comes in here, and I go, what do you think? She goes, I haven't slept like this in 15 years. I go, what? Wow. That's her body telling me we're finally getting electrolytes right. We're nailing sodium and potassium because she's, I go, how's energy? She goes, well, I'm not yawning during the day anymore. I have no headaches in the morning. I feel great. She goes, I've never felt this good, actually. She's only done the diet for 5 days. We haven't turned this woman's life upside down.
Yep.
But we finally got her electrolytes right, and then she hit the mother load. And now she's at almost 56 pounds of muscle, which, by the way, for those of you that aren't good with math, is a 5.3 pound gain of water inside of her muscles in 7 days. Oh.
And not just 7 days, the first 7 days of the program, right?
You're correct. But our clients would notice that because our clients know that the majority of our clients, as you know, are doing some form of alcohol, a couple glasses of wine here and there, and that's causing dehydration. They're doing caffeine that's causing dehydration. They're doing low carbohydrates when they jump into this thing, when they first start this. Could you imagine if she wasn't coached correctly and she jumped into this thing here and she does the diet for the first time and she'll tank here to 46. She won't be able to get up and walk down the street. She goes, I'm battling headaches. I'm up all night. I haven't felt this word. Oh, FYI, I haven't had a bowel movement this week. You go, oh boy. You go, let's increase your vegetables. You go, I don't need to increase your vegetables. You have no water in your body. Well, she has no water in her body. She's going to get constipated down here. This is constipation. And this is what we've got to coach.
And again, let's talk about this first week, because you kind of talked about that early. The keto flu. You know, that's a huge thing that people are scared of. I've had people come in saying, oh my gosh, I wanted to do the program, but I'm too scared of the keto flu. And we kind of expect that during the first 3 to 4 days and what have you. But I think what you're telling me is if we balance their sodium straight out of the gate, that they might not even experience the keto flu.
50 to 60% of the keto, now you got to detox from carbs. So those people that are junkies that are doing an unbelievably high level of carbohydrates that could lose 6, 8, 9, 10, 12 pounds in week 1. The more weight you lose in week 1, it wasn't a better week 1, by the way. Let's say a normal woman could maximize fat loss for 3 pounds in a week, and a guy somewhere between 4.5 and 5, depending on size and muscle, blah, blah, blah. So anything north of that is an addiction to carbohydrates and sugar. So when a woman walks in and says, guess what, I lost 9.5 pounds in the first week, and someone else is disappointed and said, well, I only lost 5. You didn't do better. You have more carbohydrates in your system. Your triglycerides are high. You're a much bigger junkie to carbohydrate. You lost 9 pounds this week because we got rid of just an enormous amount of carbohydrates. You're a junkie. You just do more carbohydrates than everybody else. It's not a better week than everybody else. So that's what week 1 is. But you're right, 50 or 60% of the keto flu is coming from low electrolytes because we're pulling all the spark plugs out as we have an adrenal reaction because the kidneys start throwing out sodium as a reaction to the low insulin levels being caused by you doing a great job with carbs. And you go, oh. This woman, after 1 week, did not lose a single pound. 0.
Right. I saw that
and her fat goes from 46.5 to 38.6. Now, I get that this isn't totally true, the numbers, because her muscle's being understated here. Her muscle's being understated. But in the end, I convinced her that she's doing an amazing job because this is what inflammation is. This is what causes the immune system to get better. This is what causes blood pressure to do better as you start dropping fat and blood pressure gets better and cholesterol gets better. So in the end, if I don't have intracellular water, she's disappointed and walks away. I take a look at a food log. I have no idea what she's doing. But if you ask her how she's doing and she goes, infinitely better sleep. Energy's fantastic. No yawning at work during the day anymore. Used to take a nap every day. First time I haven't taken a nap in 12 years. And you go, well, your body's telling me something's going right. But my weight isn't down because your intracellular water is up. And I go, have you had a constipation problem your whole life? She goes, I've had constipation on or off for 25 years. Why? Here. I know why she has constipation. And you can take Miralax and you can increase your fiber and you can drink more water. You can do anything you want. But she can't hold on to the water she's drinking because she doesn't have the sodium and electrolytes to do it. Increasing her water by 120 milligrams a day isn't going to do anything.
Yeah.
She doesn't get the game. She needs a coach.
You know, and
that's the issue.
I've had clients who have had these symptoms forever. And again, keto or not keto, they suffer from these problems. And I've found that we've been able to really help them with that stuff.
You're correct. We experience, but I would venture to say, because there's no stats on this, whatever, I'll bet you my 2 ideal protein clinics experience 99% less constipation than everybody else in the country. I know where constipation is coming. Constipation is coming in this diet from low sodium levels, which is not allowing the body to hold water intracellular, and then the body just seizes up because it doesn't have water. Yes. Does magnesium count? Balancing calcium, magnesium? Yes. Does fiber count? Yes. Do we need water? Yes. But what's happening is as carbs go lower and insulin goes lower, the body's kicking out sodium faster than you're putting in. That's what the real troublemaker is. One more example. This client just finished. I love this client. She's just adorable. She's a 24-year-old girl that walked in here at 167 pounds.
Wow.
She walked out the other day at 124.5. If I could show you the level of energy, self-confidence, and things that have accelerated on this girl, I mean, if this doesn't put a smile on your face, I don't know what. This is literally why I coach every day. She's a completely different human being, and not because she looks better. Her self-confidence is better. She's rocking. She feels great about herself. The negative self-talk is gone, and she's like, I was never even this weight in high school. She's 24 years old. She never saw this weight in high school. Never, ever. She didn't even know this girl existed. And this diet, this weight loss allowed her to change that identity and say, guess what? I'm amazing, I rock, and I'm gorgeous, and I don't have to apologize to anybody for that.
Wow. That's so
And so
great.
guess what she did though? This isn't sodium. This, she says she's on phase 3. She got out of phase 2, she's out of phase 3. We're in stabilization, right?
Okay.
We started quietly increasing calories. Then we're going to increase calories, we're going to increase carbs. And she goes, I've always wanted to be around 125. I'll hit my goal. Let's stop. I go, fine. I'm thrilled that you're stopped. I think she's 14.5% body fat, which is just
wow.
beyond amazing. Oh, you have no idea how good this girl looks. And she's
that's
so
athletic.
adorable. Yeah, oh, amazing. But she goes, again, false belief, like most of our clients have. As soon as I go off of carbs, as soon as I get off of keto, I'm going to gain weight. And she's gained 1.5 pounds in a week. I go, hold on, pump the brakes. Before she came in that day, she had a half a banana in a smoothie. She's in phase 3. We're quietly reintroducing carbohydrates. The body said, hey, we have more than 40 carbs in the body. We're no longer in ketosis. What would you like me to do with these extra carbs? He goes, grab the extra carbs from the banana, which is good for me, by the way. Grab those extra carbs and store them in her muscle and her liver. And water weight went up in her muscle by 4 pounds.
Yep.
And now she's 4 pounds of water heavier inside of her muscles. She actually lost weight this week still. So she lost weight and lost fat, but it looks like here that she gained weight because weight goes up by 1.5 because stored glycogen goes up.
Yep.
So that's what happened. But she gained 4 pounds of water inside from stored carbohydrates. The opposite that happens in week 1, right? She does this to this in week 1, and that's why you have this huge weight loss in week 1. So we need to tell our clients as well, when they get off of this diet, your weight, that isn't your weight. That's your weight with no carbs stored in your muscle cells. And again, if we're not measuring intracellular water, she's telling herself as a girl that's not educated well with nutrition and exercise, damn it, as soon as I start putting carbs back in my body, I'm gaining weight, which is not true. And we don't want her to believe that because then she's scared of carbohydrates, which there's no reason to be. So now all of a sudden she turns around and she goes, okay, I'm going to increase the carbs in my body. And she's phasing out beautifully, by the way. And she increases water inside of her muscle cells. And water goes up 4 pounds. Big deal.
Stored glycogen. Yep.
Stored glycogen. She hasn't take a tape measure out. I hate to tell you, you've lost inches still. Because she put on 4 pounds of water weight inside of her muscle cells and weight didn't go up by 4. She's still losing weight. She's taking less calories than she's burning still.
Yeah.
So her maintenance is perfect.
Fat line. That's
but
her fat line down below,
look
right?
at fat.
Yep.
She's still killing fat, but she's telling herself, oh my God, as soon as the story she tells herself, because she doesn't have intracellular water, she doesn't know how to explain this. She goes, oh my God, as second I have a carbohydrate, I had a half a banana and my weight went up by 1.5. So therefore I should never have carbs the rest of my life. And she's making up this false story in her head because she's not being coached correctly. That's my job.
Yeah,
that's where I got to get in front of that and go, don't do that. And she looks and goes, okay, good. And I go, if you want to do something, find your tightest pair of jeans, put them in the dryer for an hour and put them on. She goes, what? I go, yeah, and you're going to look amazing, by the way. She goes, why? I go, because you haven't gained any weight. So you got to take a tape measure out and make things or put your clothes on and do the gene test. Go ahead. This isn't real weight, but she's telling herself this, and I'm terrified that she's going to tell herself this fake story about carbs, and she's going to have a terrible relationship with carbs because she doesn't understand how it works. We've got to explain it to them. We have to educate these people.
Yeah. You know, I usually have the tanks on my whiteboard behind my desk in the office, and when we go through this week, I take them right back to the tank talk, and I show them that carb tank, and I just say, now remember, where's the carb tank stored? Well, it's stored all over my body, inside my muscles, and we just started refilling that tank, and so therefore, that was lean weight that you gained. Your body fat percentage dropped even further. It's like icing on the cake.
That's a fantastic, and then that's the education, FYI. That's why you pay for that. I'm worried about these clients doing intermittent fasting and ketosis at home by themselves, and they're not receiving a level of coaching and education that they deserve and they need. And without it, I hate to tell you, they're going to start making up false beliefs, just like this. One's middle 165, 167, 168, whatever it was, to 123, and she's going to start making up a false story about nutrition. She doesn't know how else to explain it. And therefore, she's going to come up with false beliefs. Those false beliefs are going to come up with her plan to attack nutrition for the next 25 years. She's only a 25-year-old girl. Now she's going to attack this plan based on this false information and make up these ridiculous rules that don't exist. That's my job.
Well, and that's almost too why it's so much more important to stay with you as a nutritional coach after phase 1, right? Now, I mean, I would love to have you as my nutritional coach for the rest of my life, and that's really what you are for your clients, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and that's there's a beginning to this program, but people think there's an end at the end of phase 1, and there's really not. Phase 2 and phase 3 is where the rubber meets the road, and that's where the fun begins.
And the body wants to run back to your old weight level. So we know we want to hold a range for 12 or 16 months, put it to a new set weight, because the body wants to go back to those old levels of insulin we're used to do and fill up those fat cells again. So maintaining that weight level, a range in here, 7 to 10 pounds while you lose the weight is infinitely more important than losing the weight. Filling up those fat cells again is causing all kinds of other problems. And when people put the weight back on and they say put all the weight back on, well, the weight may come back on, but your percent of body fat is now higher. So you may have weighed 165 before, you lost down to 130 and went back to 165 again. 165 the second time, I hate to tell you, is a higher percentage of body fat. You're more insulin resistant. The heart is working harder. It's a whole nother shit show.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the takeaway to this thing is, guess what? Really focus on getting enough sodium, etc. And if you have a coach or a clinic that can measure intracellular water, we can back out the numbers and make a crude estimate of how sodium is doing, and we can see this thing going. If you don't have intracellular water, fine. Doesn't bother me. Listen to your body. How's energy today? Amazing. How were you tired? No. How is focus? Outstanding. How's your mood? How'd you sleep last night? You want to hear about my dream? I go, nope. Don't want to hear about your dream. But if you're dreaming, you're telling me your electrolytes are rocking. And with those electrolytes, you get to deeper sleep or REM sleep. Get to deeper sleep and REM sleep, wake up refreshed, produce less cortisol, hit it better. So I don't have to look at a scale. I can listen to my body and let my body tell me how this is going. But at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, when you start doing one of those numbers, your sodium levels are too low. When you're up at night or you're tossing and turning, sodium is too low. So that my body will tell me what's that. Mild headaches, big headaches, low energy, moody, all those things. Sodium is too low. Go have 2 pickles and come back and let me tell you what happened. You go, got it. So that's the takeaway for me. If your coaches can measure it, awesome. If not, don't worry about it. But guess what? That's the way it rocks.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, so many of those questions on Facebook, they're like, oh, I just don't have the energy that I'm supposed to have on this program. I don't get it. My body doesn't do well with ketosis. I've got headaches all the time. This just shouldn't be. This isn't good for me.
Right.
I'm going to quit. My, brain fog. Brain fog and fatigue and all of that stuff is something that should clear up with ketosis. And if it doesn't, then we know that there's an issue with sodium and electrolytes.
I wish we would focus on that. I really think it's the most I said Ideal Protein Salt is the most underutilized product, and I wish we would spend really 50% of our time coaching more, especially right at the beginning. Don't wait for week 3 or week 4 for all these symptoms to come up. Ask these guys and help these guys out right at the beginning. So Ideal Protein says 2,300 milligrams of sodium. There's all kinds of other people out there that they're upwards of 3,000 or 4,000. But again, what medications are they taking? What products are they using? How often are they doing it? It's more than just this simple formula that I can just feed into everyone should do this. So listen to your body and react accordingly. And it's a game-changing difference. If you want to maximize fat loss, you have to get amazing quality sleep. And to do it, we need correct levels of vitamin D. We need the gut cleared from sugar, and we need electrolytes correct. And of course, no blue light, that type of thing before we go to bed at night. And we'd like to see the body go to bed around the same time every single night so he gets in a pattern. Give me those things and sleep gets infinitely better. I will show you fast weight loss.
Wow. Wow. Again, my mind is swimming. I'm sure everybody else's, everybody out there's mind is swimming.
I really wanted to get into visceral fat today, but you know what? That's a whole topic by itself.
Well, then you know what? I guess that just means we'll have to come back together and do another show sometime.
Okay, good.
Yeah, because I would love. I need some help on that, distinguishing between the two and the importance of both, and I'm sure everybody else does. So we will save that for another episode, and I will let you get back to the girls. I hope you guys got a big night planned tonight while they're visiting down there. Oh, I lost you. Oh, there you are. Are you there?
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, you got a big night planned tonight?
Oh yeah, you know, I'm lucky. One of the good things is my daughter's working virtually here for a month, and she's got girls coming in and out for the month, and I'm beyond blessed to spend that type of time with her at 25 years old. You know,
That's
might
amazing.
happen again for 25 years. So I'm trying to take advantage of every single day and every single minute.
Oh, that's so awesome. Yeah.
I love it.
That's so great. Thank you again, Ed, so much. I really appreciate it. And I cannot wait for us to talk again.
Thanks for having me. You do a great show, and you're really doing a great service for people, spreading the word and doing your story. I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you so much. All right. So, you know, it's kind of funny. There was a lot of stuff in there. And like I said, now we've got them recorded so we can go back and watch it and listen to it again. I am kind of feeling like this, and you might be feeling like this now too, but don't worry. Like I said, review some of those details. You're going to get it. Coaches and clinic owners, you definitely want to get into this stuff, because I'm telling you, it has made all the difference in the world for our clients. It really, it's amazing when they feel so much better. The ones that are not doing well in phase one like they should, once you balance their sodium, it's just like magic. So thank you for being with us again this week. Please like, share, promote the show. I've got the next episode. Let's go. Okay. The next episode of our show, I want to show you that our next guest is going to be none other than Melanie Stack, the Ideal Protein CEO. I got to tell you, when this idea first came about, when she suggested that she might want to be on the show, I was extremely nervous. But after the past 2 weeks where we've actually been working on the show together, I got to tell you that I'm more excited than I am nervous, for sure. I have to tell you that this interview is going to be a real and authentic chat with Melanie Stack. This isn't going to be a corporate plug or any kind of commercialization of what's going on this show. One of the reasons why Melanie loves the show is the fact that we get authentic and real. And that is the thing about this program and about the coach-client relationship, is we get authentic and real. And so she has consented to do an interview with me and be her authentic, real self, deep down to the core. During the show, both of us, we're going to unpack why she feels that all of her personal and professional experience up to this point in her life has literally prepared her to lead this uniquely positioned company and elevate it to the position in weight loss and healthcare that it truly deserves on the world stage. And I'm going to tell you, I believe she's right. So tune in 2 weeks. It should take you 2 weeks to review this show with Ed, but tune in 2 weeks. And I'm going to have this interview with Melanie Stack. And who knows where the show might go from there. Until then, keep chasing life possible.